Hello, and thank you for joining me today for our Profile Makeover webinar. My name is Will Simpson. I am the Los Angeles Upwork Ambassador. I'm also a full-time freelancer myself. I do graphic design primarily, and I'm very passionate about helping my fellow freelancers find that notorious work-life balance that we're all looking to achieve. All is our own definition, I'm sure. Today we're going to go over the benefits of having a great profile. We're going to do a deep dive into the profile, what it takes to go ahead and create that and really make it shine. And then we'll also clearly go over the next steps to go ahead and review your profile. So let's go ahead and dive in. There are many benefits to having a great profile, but one of the maybe lesser known ones is that the majority of job posts on Upwork that are from the enterprise clients, oftentimes the larger entities that seek out Upwork assistance, they're usually posted as invite only, private, meaning if you don't have a really strong profile, you may not attract that client, you may not hit their radar. So our profile is really how you present yourself to prospective clients and grab their interest and set yourself apart from the competition. The profile also helps Upwork to match you with the right jobs. You'll notice oftentimes that you'll get invites from internal members in Upwork or from clients themselves to go ahead and apply to specific jobs. Having a very clear title, about me, profile, all that will make sure you're more visible to those correct fitting jobs. Then you also want to stand out from the crowd. Your profile is how you present yourself to a prospective client. It's that first impression oftentimes, and it's how you set yourself apart and land those new gigs. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of a deep dive. The following tips are pro-based tips on successful freelancers on the platform. To start with, it's very important for the profile to be cohesive among all sections and make sure you complete all of the sections. If your profile is incomplete, you will see in the top right-hand corner when you first log into your feed that you will see if you see a little percentage bar that's not 100%, then you know. We'll get more into that later. Let's start off with your profile picture. It's really important to have a strong profile picture because humans make a first impression judgment based on how they perceive you when they first see your profile. They want to make sure that they can trust you. They want to make sure they're working with people that will assist them in their project success. So you want to go ahead and convey friendliness and professionalism in your profile picture. So we've got a few examples here on the right. Now you'll see that these are all fantastic pictures for different scenarios, but the ones on the right have a much crisper look. So let's take a look at the lighting. You want to find a location with natural light when taking picture, if possible. Avoid direct sunlight so you don't get weird shadows, especially if you have directly overhead light, you can get strange shadows on your face. You want to make sure you have a very plain background. The photos on the left-hand side of this quadrant, they're good photos, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of action happening, and it's detracting from a person's ability to be able to just read you as a professional. Focus on your face. You want to do a close-up portrait that's sort of like, from your chest to the top of your head, and you want to have a straight onto the camera with the shoulders at a slight angle is some best wisdom. Recommended that you smile or appear friendly and approachable. Obviously, you'll have to determine what that looks like for yourself. But there are some very cool tools out there to get some feedback, to crowdsource what picture looks great. I know that oftentimes I'm guilty of being my own harshest critic. I look at all the pictures and say, I hate them. But you can go to photofeeler.com. That's photofeeler.com. I believe this is a free tool where you can go ahead and submit a couple different types of pictures, and people will rank you on your friendliness, professionalism, trustworthiness. And then based on that crowdsourced information, you can go ahead and, with pretty high confidence, select the picture which most represents you and your brand. So we want to make sure that we're standing out from the crowd with your title. This is the first thing that they will read when they see it. Just like Google search results, the title and snippets of information that appear on Upwork Freelancers search results, they can be key factors in selecting which clients they're going to reach out to. So you want to make sure that the title is short and focused. Long titles can often get truncated in the search results, which will maybe lose a lot of its efficiency or effectiveness. And Upwork's research with clients show that clients see it as a positive signal if the profile is well written and the freelancer's title matches what the client is looking for. So it's good as you develop your niche, as you get further into your freelancing. It's good to be a little bit more specific where you can. Now, we do have the option to have a few different side-by-side profiles, specialized profiles, but we're going to get into that in later detail. So go ahead and dial in your niche and get that title, really packing that punch. So you want to keep it succinct, and you want to have it summarize your experience. You want clear information that captures the occupation and specializations that you have expertise in. So if you're a developer, maybe listing a few of the pertinent development skills you have in that title would be advantageous. All right. Next, we want to keep your overview concise. Tech buyers will like to see skills aligned with projects and more bullets more than prose. So from sales and marketing buyers, they definitely want to see how you sell or position yourself. And for writing buyers, your words will definitely sell you or not. So keep in mind that the reader is who you're pitching to. This is your first pitch for them. At the beginning of your profile, on the overview, it displays in the search results. So you want to make sure that you don't have a soft first sentence. You want to include clear, relevant information about a primary skill set and expertise that you have. Like, I'm a graphic designer with a strong business background. It sort of lets you know the flavor I lean. Let your personality shine through as much as you can. A lot of the people that your clients that you will be interacting with, looking for someone that they can trust and develop a good working relationship. While as important as it is to be very professional in how you interact with your clients, a lot of people want to like the people they work with. I know I do. One of the huge upsides to being a freelancer was being able to select my clients, and I select my clients based on how much I like to work with them. And the same is true the opposite. Well, another important mindset to be in when creating your overview is be client-centric. It's very easy to get trapped into submitting a laundry list of what I'm good at. I do Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, and you just sort of bullet point list it, and I do this and I do that. While you need to portray this information and your skills, it's much better to try and flip the phrasing to be client-centric. My job is to take your message and visually convey it in a way that entices and engages and moves your audience to take action. That's another way of saying, I'm good at what I do and I'll make sure your people love it. You know what I mean? It's less me-centric, more client-centric. So you want to make sure that you structure your overview so that it's easy to quickly scan through. A lot of clients are sifting through many freelancer options, independent professional options, when they're coming through. And if you have a long essay about yourself, that may not be as easy for them to digest as opposed to bite-sized, powerful statements. You know, the happy middle ground between a laundry list of bullet points and a long essay, and you'll have to find what fits well for you there. So definitely utilize bullet points to emphasize certain areas, but avoid just the simple listing of skills. That can be very unattractive to a client that's trying to get to know who you are. I'm going to say this a couple times through this presentation, but one of the key things to do is make sure you proofread. Any spelling errors or grammatical errors, just to make you appear like you don't review your work. And I know that I sort of use the terminology, or the phrase rather, you know, doctors make the worst patients. I find that I'm often the worst graphically designing my own materials or proofreading my own materials. I take much greater detail on my clients. However, when I'm trying to attain these new clients and business, it is representative. What I provide in my overview is representative of the care I will take with their projects. So it's important to proofread. Have a friend read it, find a service online that can do it, Grammarly, anything, whatever works for you. Just make sure that you're putting your best foot forward in this section, okay? An important thing to remember is to not provide any direct contact information. That's no email, phone, Skype. It is a violation of the terms and conditions and can get you into hot water. You want to make sure you're going down the communication channels that have been provided through Upwork, including the new Zoom feature, which is pretty sweet. Next up, we want to talk about skill tags. So skill tags are what really optimize how the clients find you when they're searching for specific talent on their projects. If the tags that you list in your profile match what they're looking for in their job, the metrics are far more likely that they're going to go ahead and reach you there. So it's important that you list a limited number of skills in your specific niche, and that can be very broad, but that's why we have specialized profiles for multiple sections. You want to only claim the skills for which you have evidence that you have expertise in. Myself, I do mainly graphic design, like branding, flyers, things like that. I do web work, but I wouldn't call that one of my expertises. So, I would put that lower on the list if I'm listing them hierarchically. But also, if it's something that I'm not feeling that confident in, I may not list that as one of my direct skills in that specialized profile. I think the limit is 10 skills that you can list. So you want them to be relevant and not redundant. So for instance, there's multiple ways to say customer service. There's customer experience, customer service, professional, whatever the case may be, customer support. You want to make sure that you are just choosing one version of what you do, so you're not using up multiple slots on the same sort of concept. I think you'll find that when you start typing in something, it'll automatically populate the suggested best match. So make sure we're getting those dialed in. Let's see here. Next up, we want to talk about intro video. So this is a cool feature that really helps you stand apart from your competition. It helps you, it's sort of like that in-person interview process that you often get in the freelance world, especially during these COVID times. It enables you to quickly bond with the prospective client and create that personal connection. Oftentimes, a lot of emotion and tone or levity can be lost when it's simply text. So this is your opportunity to really show who you are and why people will want to work with you. Think of it as a television commercial for your freelance business. So starting off, you want to create a strong script. Now, write a script that describes what you can do for the prospective clients without going into too much detail. We want to keep this thing relatively short. So the suggested breakdown would be an introduction of about 5 to 10 seconds. And this is, who are you? What services do you offer? How long have you been doing what you've been doing? Then next, you want maybe 10 to 20 seconds of objective. What type of roles and projects and clients do you look to work with? Who do you work well with? What style do you have? And then you want to go ahead and do a career highlights, maybe 10 to 20 seconds again. What's your experience, showcasing the breadth and depth of your experience as it relates to a specific niche market. And then the last 5 to 10 seconds, it want to be your conclusion. What action do you want the viewer to take after watching your video, your call to action? Just as in your proposals and probably in your overview is a good idea as well. A call to action is always a good idea. Reach out and we can set up a time to set up a Zoom call, whatever the case may be. Thank them for their interest and express a desire to work with them in the future. Invite them to look at your profile items, whatever the case may be. Ask them to take action. So when you're getting ready for the video shoot, you want to go ahead and practice until you sound very natural reciting it. Think of it more like a conversation about these topics rather than just trying to remember specific notes. You want to try and convey your points in 30 seconds or less. People have a typically short attention span and oftentimes a lot of content to get through when trying to find the right freelancer. Make sure, as with your profile picture, you want to have a clean shot and background. No busyness or noise in the background. Good lighting with no weird shadows on your face. It's recommended that you do a business casual attire using a digital camera or something with high res. You want something in 1080p at least. Otherwise, if you get a grainy, poor video recording, it just sort of reflects on your work product. The same with grammatical and spelling mistakes. You want to put your best foot forward. Okay. You want to go ahead and turn your portfolio into an exciting case study. So your portfolio, it's recommended to be at least 3 pieces or more. As you can see from this snapshot here, when you show up in the search results, when people are looking for freelancers, your first 3 portfolio items are visible to them, specifically in the design and creative space. I know they're working on expanding that in some of the other categories. But it's very important that you go ahead and have these dialed in. If you put some of your mediocre work up in there, they may just scroll right past you. So you want high quality cover images, not blurry, not cut off. You want clear project titles and descriptions on them. And this is one of the most important aspects when it comes to clients selecting a freelancer. So you want to make sure you include on the details of these, what did you do for the job? What was the scope of the work? What was the client looking for? And were there any obstacles you overcame to really deliver what the client was looking for? It's a great way to go ahead and sell yourself that you're good at what you do. Having a strong portfolio can lead to more profile views, more high quality job invites, and your confidence in being seen as a real professional, even if you're a newbie. For those that don't have profiles because you're new to the industry or new to the platform, no worries. Make things. When I first started, I created some make-believe companies, and I make sure and specify in my notes that they were make-believe companies. I wasn't misrepresenting myself. That trust relationship is huge. But go ahead and create, fabricate what would you make for that coffee shop, like a logo or a flyer or a website, whatever the case may be. Everyone has their own version of this. But it's important to make sure you really stand out here. So we want to leverage the portfolio creatively for your different skills. So a case study, create a short story about someone you've helped or a challenge you've solved. Create anonymized screenshots of your Google Analytics campaign. I know that it's easy to go ahead and do a portfolio when you're a graphic designer and you make pictures for a living. That's the way I describe myself, not demeaning the industry. But you want to make sure that you go ahead and have something to represent that you are good at what you do, like accounting and Google Analytics, for the SEO type people. Maybe for accounting, you can't show your clients immediate data, obviously, but you can show, the ways you were able to improve or streamline. Some sort of metrics related to what you did, or just processes that you were involved in. This is really where you get to establish yourself as a professional. If you can get testimonials from colleagues, from clients, you want to make sure that they are visually appealing to look at as well. So there's a good way to go ahead and showcase those. It's advised to create a small number of targeted relevant work samples versus just a large scattered portfolio. Remember, people that are looking to hire you are likely looking at a lot of freelancers. Much better to have a few hard-hitting pieces than a lot that's a little bit overwhelming to go ahead and absorb. Okay. You want to include your work history. People want to know where you're coming from. So add the relevant details to your work history to help clients really understand your background. And this includes not only on Upwork, but off of Upwork, or prior to, or tangent to. Especially if you're new to freelancing, whether you have a professional experience in the sector before you started Upworking, include that. The company and its reputation are probably good to call out, assuming that is relevant, and your role in accomplished projects, maybe descriptions of successes or your impact in them. You want to go ahead and add a description of your responsibilities and examples of accomplished projects for each role. This is a really good way for people to get an understanding of where you're coming from. If you don't have a lot of employment history, consider adding your freelance business as a one-line item with a brief description summarizing your focus and your passions. Like I know before I had much of a profile as a graphic designer, I did it as a passion project. I just like to Photoshop my friends in funny scenarios or whatever the case may be. And so I can go ahead and draw upon that and just say I'm passionate about photo editing, photo manipulation, and it's led me to do it as a career. There's many different ways to phrase it, even if you're new in the industry. Certifications. You can get certifications both from third parties and also from Upwork skill certifications. You can add them to your profile. If you go ahead and scroll down on your profile, you can add those certifications, and it's a great way to show off your skills and qualifications. The Upwork skill certifications rolling out in different phases here. Currently, we have 10 skill certifications in the web and mobile development software section and 16 in the design and creative categories. We're looking to expand these skill certifications to other categories in the future, but at this time, you cannot request to be invited, but for the best chance of being invited to that in the future, achieve a solid reputation on Upwork, keep a complete and up-to-date profile that is not set to private so it is visible, and maintain an active Upwork account in good standings. That'll make sure you hit the radar to get invited to these skill certifications. And testimonials. Testimonials are a great way to strengthen your profile. Whether it's someone you worked with on Upwork or off Upwork, you can go ahead and invite them if they're off Upwork, and it'll go ahead and just verify who they are through a LinkedIn verification workflow. So very easy to do, but a great way to get clout in an industry, especially if you're trying to be new on the platform and gain new clients. Complete your profile. I mentioned this earlier. When you're starting to create your profile, you should see on the top right-hand corner a little progress bar that's working its way towards 100. Make sure you keep your availability updated so people can see when you're available for new jobs that are relevant, and include all the languages you speak, include detailed description of the relevant education items by listing your institution names and programs in chronological order. All these little pieces all add up to a really visually appealing and easily digestible profile for your clients to go ahead and see who you are and if they want to work with you. The ID verification badge. So Upwork is hugely passionate about creating a marketplace of trust. freelancers that are verifying who they say they are a big part of creating that trust. Now, for those that have worked on other platforms outside of Upwork, I know I have as well, a lot of them were lacking that trust element. And to me, that's one of the major things which makes Upwork so valuable. People place a lot of trust in it, and by being who they say they are, verifying themselves, delivering the work they say they can, and it helps the clients, it helps the freelancers. And so to go ahead and get that ID verification badge, it is a two-step process. I know the first one is to upload a copy of your ID, and the second one is to do a video call where people go ahead and verify you are who you say you are. Okay, so they'll go ahead and reach out to you to complete those steps. If you've done the first one of adding your ID, then the second one is to initiate that video call. Okay. Setting your profile rate. It's interesting being a freelancer. Those coming from the corporate world, which I did as well, it's interesting when it comes to setting your rate. You've got to think about it a little bit differently. It's best not to have your driver be setting your rates when it comes to working with your clients. You have a lot of other expenses that you did not have when you worked for another company, perhaps. You have your own accounting to do, your own insurance to do, your own benefits to account for, as well as just doing the work of the client and prospecting for new business. So it's important to make sure that you experiment with different rates to make sure that you're covering all of your expenses. As a freelancer, it's just a lot more dynamic than when you're working for an established entity. One of the things that I like to do to find my profile rate is that I will go ahead and look at other freelancers in my sort of sector that are doing similar quality and quantity of work that I'm doing, and I'll see what are they charging and how happy are their clients. Is my work on a similar caliber as theirs? Maybe I can experiment with that. So play around with what works for you, but don't undervalue yourself. Okay. Setting your bid rate. So look for indications from the job post in terms of the client's experience and intent. You can see when you're looking to bid on a project. On the right-hand side, you can see the experience, how many clients or how many projects they've completed. I believe the usual hire rate, and then also the reviews from Freelancer. Looking at some of these key identifiers, and an Upwork Plus client, or there's an enterprise job. There's different things that can call out when you're looking to see how to approach these people. Are they a good match for you? Is it within the budget of what you're looking to work? If they're typically hiring for half the rate that you're charging, you're going to need to justify why you are worth that. So it's a good way to go ahead and dial in a lot of the detail elements which set you apart from your competition and really nail those jobs. Budget versus agreed terms. You can propose a different rate than what the client sets on the job. You'll just need to explain why your rate is different. What we were just mentioning, a lot of the clients that are putting jobs up on Upwork are maybe new to the platform or new to hiring freelancers. They may not really know what it's worth or how much they should be paying. It's our job as the independent professionals to go ahead and explain why. Anyone in design industry, I know for sure, will say, there's a $5 logo and there's a $500 logo, and there's a lot of, and you can do both. I sell both, but there is a big difference between, and it's our job as professionals and trusted entities to go ahead and educate our clients on which one is right for them. Maybe it's not the $5 one, maybe it's not the $500 one, but maybe the $200 logo is what they're looking for and will serve them best. So it's up to us to go ahead and convey that information. A tip from a very successful freelancer: if you offer the same thing as everyone else, you can only compete on price. To increase your rates, you need to be different and deliver more value than the average freelancer. So find what makes you different. A big part of my personal freelancing experience is that I create long-lasting relationships with my clients. They know me. They like me. I've been working with many of them for over 5 to 10 years. They trust me, and it's what sets them apart. I know the rhythms of their business, and I care, and I ask, and I inquire, and I dig deep. So I create those personal relationships. Find your version of that, whether it's in the detail that you do in the work that you provide for them, whatever the case may be. It's important to find your own little niche. Some other ideas to help you increase your earnings. Develop those specialized profiles. We'll get into that in a little bit, but you want to highlight your niche and adjust your rate specific to each service you provide. So for instance, I do graphic design, maybe branding and flyers, and I charge a different rate for that than I do my PowerPoint presentation decks. My skill set in that is a lot stronger. I have a much stronger resume to back that up, so I should charge a different rate. Um, you want to keep your rates or raise your rates as you grow. I like to go ahead and take a look at mine quarterly. I try and remember, or at least once or twice a year. I'll take a look and see, have I increased my skills in any sections? And if so, I should adjust my rates accordingly. Keep looking at my peer group and see what are they charging. Are my skills equivalent to theirs? Is what I'm delivering the same quality or higher quality? Maybe I can play around with that. And also a good technique is to take a negotiation course if you are not a native salesman or woman. As a freelance independent professional, we are not just the talent to do the specific project. We are sales. We are accounting. If you are not comfortable with sales and knowing your value, take a negotiation course, read a book on it. There's a lot of great resources out there. But if you have to value yourself. If you don't value yourself, it's hard to get clients that value you. Okay. So important little way to upskill, perhaps. So important questions to ask yourself. Do you really need to offer that discount? Can you instead justify why you're charging the price that you're charging? Maybe avoid clients that are extremely price sensitive. I will say from my personal experience, and I think a lot of freelancers, independent professionals will agree with me, the clients that want to pay the least usually expect the most from you. And that's just a strange fact that I've encountered. So try to avoid people that are maybe just only focused on that rather than the quality of what you can provide. Are you at the point in your long-term contract where you can suggest a rate increase? Have you been working with this client for a few years and have your skills increased since then? And have you experimented with a higher rate to gauge responses? This, to me, was the safest way I felt to go ahead and raise my rates with my existing clients, was to start off by, let's say, let's say I was charging $50 an hour before, and I want to experiment with $75. That's a significant jump. And so I may be nervous about just going to my existing clients when it's untested. So what I would do is I would bid on new jobs on Upwork and do it at that $75 rate. And I found the interesting thing was that I actually got more when I rate to what my peer group were doing, what the market could bear, that was of a similar value. People were happy to pay for it. Not every client is looking for the same skill level and same cost. Know your value, test the waters, and if it seems that everyone agrees, then maybe you will feel more confident going back to your existing client base and having that discussion. There's a lot of great resources on how to have that discussion online. Do some Googling. There's some great sort of laundry list items to check off and how to be succinct and confident in your delivery of that. Some additional best practices to help perfect your profile. Link to any other professional accounts which are pertinent to your freelancing, whether that's your DeviantArt, it's Twitter, GitHub, Stack Overflow if you're developers. And I'm going to say it again, proofread each section. Use tools like Grammarly if you like, or your friend that's very detail-oriented, or your mum that's happy to look over it for you, whatever the case. Make sure we get that dialed in nice. Keep your profile updated. I know I can be guilty of, as I mentioned earlier, doctors make the worst patients. As a graphic designer, I sometimes forget to come back to my profile. And my skill set and my way of establishing my niche has been dialed in quite a bit since then. You need to come back periodically and make sure you adjust and do little tweaks here and there to make sure you're staying current. You want to make sure you demonstrate professionalism through timely responses to any invites and keep your availability up to date. If you get hit with a big project, congratulations, that's awesome. Maybe you need to go ahead and select your availability down a little bit lower so that you're not getting a lot of invites to jobs that you just can't really handle. It's very important to make sure you are prompt in responding to those invites. Whether or not you accept or deny it is somewhat irrelevant. It's the timeliness in which you address it and saying yes or no to it. So very important there. Let's see here. Track your reputation. Open contracts with no payments or excessive contracts with no feedback can negatively impact your job success score, your JSS. To keep your JSS at 100%, consider reviewing contracts to see if it's an appropriate time to close inactive ones. You have the ability as a freelancer in a contract to suggest a close on it, and if the client is non-responsive, they have, I believe it's 2 weeks, it will go ahead and close it out after you've requested it if there's inactivity. So don't feel bad doing that. Do what needs to be done to make sure your profile is clear and your JSS is up at 100, and it'll work out. Specialized profiles. So when clients filter their search by specialty, only freelancers who have relevant specialized profiles will appear. So if you just see general profile graphic designer, but they're looking for a specific graphic designer illustrator, you won't show up unless you have that profile. Um, a freelancer who specializes in designing covers for children's book may not want to compete for the same projects as a business presentation. That's really one of the sort of examples of why there's these specialized profiles. So how does it help? And what is a specialized profile? The issue we wanted to solve was that many freelancers, whether they're new or veteran to Upwork, offer multiple services. And previously, they only had one place and limited ways to express that with the number of tags and then the content before it got too lengthy. So specialized profiles have detailed sections letting freelancers highlight category-specific expertise, especially in comparison to general profiles, which don't really give you that granular level of customization. If you create a specialized profile, clients will be able to find your profile by searching for the skills that you have tagged yourself as. So when you create a specialized profile, you'll be able to customize the title and overview by the type of work you're marketing. And you want to make sure that the skills you're listing are only the most relevant skills for that specified profile. So as I said, we have, as my example, graphic design. I'll have one side that will be more corporate deck creation versus the other more creative side, which would be maybe, photo manipulation and fun edits on that side. Style it as you need for the specific types of work you're looking for. But an important thing to note is that you can set a different rate for each specialized profile. If you are doing video editing, maybe you charge a different rate for your video editing than you do for your still photography, as an example. But it's great. You can go ahead and dial that in as needed. Freelancers can now create up to 2 specialized profiles in addition to your general profile, which are just a more specified version of the general. They help the freelancer more effectively highlight the breadth of work that they do and market their services to clients looking for their specific expertise. With these specialized profiles, freelancers can customize overviews, rates, skills, work history, and portfolio items, and the general profiles will not change for the time being. Clients who are searching for design and creative freelancers will see the Freelancers Upwork portfolio cover directly in the search results, as you see here on the example here on the slide. This is so that the design and creative freelancers can more easily showcase their favorite work samples to prospective clients. And we find on average, freelancers who have added portfolios are 5 times more likely to get hired. So it's a great opportunity to showcase your favorite projects. The profile review. So make sure that you are reviewing and getting inspired by other people's, other freelancers' profiles that are sort of tangent to what you do. When you go into Upwork and you're on your feed, the search bar in the very top section has a little downward facing arrow, I believe it is, where you can change from switching looking for jobs to looking for freelancers. And when you go ahead and do that, you can specify I'm looking for graphic designers in the LA area that are top rated, that have earned over $50,000 this year, whatever the case may be. I'm trying to find the people that are most successful and the most positively viewed by clients. And I'm going to try and maybe emulate a bit of what they do. Find how can I adapt that to work with how I work. Then make sure, I'm going to say it again, proofread your profile. Make sure it reads well in a logical order. Have someone else read it, and just make sure you're keeping that up to date. And it has that 100% completion. Very important. All right. So some key takeaways. Try and be client-centric. How can I help you? Be consistent with your strongest skills, and really work on finding that trust relationship with your clients. I like to try and put myself into like a project manager role, and I find a lot of my clients love that. They're seeking a professional to help them with a project that they may not have the in-house expertise or experience to handle. So looking for someone that they can confidently say, yes, Will can do that. Great. I'll leave it with him. All right. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope this has been useful information here. I look forward to seeing you next time.